Hi again, this is Brad Hillhouse. I am coming to you today from Palm Springs, California at the NCRS National Corvette Restorers Society Annual National Convention. And I have with me today Mike Johnson from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and he is going to tell us a little bit about his 1964 Corvette. This Corvette has several unique options that Mike's going to tell us about. So this car I'm featuring today is because it is what we call a tanker, which is the slang term for a Corvette that had an oversized fuel tank that was kind of specifically made for racing. And so from here, I'm going to turn it over to Mike and let him just kind of tell us all about a 1964 Corvette tanker.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Brad. It's good to be here. Even though it's hot outside, it's cool in here.
That's right. It is, isn't it?
Well, this is a fairly special car. They didn't build very many of these in '64, and with the different options that were ordered on the car, that's kind of what separates it from most of the others. First of all, it's an L84, which is a fuel-injected V8, 375 horsepower. This was the top horsepower for the fuel injection in those days. The other thing about it is the J56 brakes, the RPO J56 brakes, which had a unique dual circuit master cylinder that was started in '63 with the Z06s and continued in '64 in the same form. One thing about the J56 brakes is that they came with special equipment on the brake drums. The brake drums are quite large. They're finned and they're ventilated. They have a fan inside the brake drum to keep them cool. They have metallic lining of metallic pucks that rub against the brake drum and bring it to a stop very quickly. They also adjust going forward, which is the way a racer would do. They come into the pit, they hit the brakes, it adjusts them for the next lap, and so that's what they were for. The other unique thing about it is that in a bag that was delivered to the dealer were these things. They're called elephant ears, and they were to be installed on the inside of the brake drum to provide extra cooling. They would scoop the air in. This is where the brake drum would be. They would scoop the air in and provide extra cooling for the brakes. They were not to be installed unless the customer wanted them. So they came in a bag, this paper bag, along with some instructions and some bolts to install them if the owner wanted.
So you didn't just put these on the car if your wife was going to go down to the grocery store for the day. So the J56 brake package was really designed for the racing application, where a guy knew he was going to drive the car or purpose put the car on the track.
Yes.
And they actually don't work as good for just around town driving, correct?
They have to be warmed up. When they're cold, they are not very effective. They have to be warm. They have to be kept warm.
In 1964, how many cars had the J56 option?
There were 25 cars that had that.
25 cars out of about total production in '64?
20,000.
20,000. So that's about 1%.
Yeah.
Right. So that's amazing.
So this is the window sticker for the car, by the way, as it was delivered. It was delivered in Denver, Colorado. The person who ordered this car was a GM executive who worked in Denver. He wanted the special racing package on this, and all the options you see there are part of that. This would be a Z06 if it were in '63. But the Z06 package was not available in '64.
Ah, okay.
Everything separate, like the fuel injection, the J56 brakes, and the more unique feature, the big gas tank in the back.
So let's walk back there, and Mike, from the passenger side, why don't you go in and I'll shoot from the driver's side, and let's kind of look at what this big tank option is all about. I'm going to open the door here if that's all right. We're going inside. While we're here, we're just going to comment briefly. Black exterior was called Tuxedo Black in '64.
Yes.
And tell me about this interior.
The interior is another unique option that not many people ordered, which is the silver vinyl. You can see that the carpets, the seat belts, everything else are a silver tone, and this was a fairly unique interior. Not many people ordered this.
It's absolutely striking, the contrast of the Tuxedo Black with the silver interior. So sorry we got distracted there.
Yeah.
Let's now talk about the tank.
Okay, this is a 36.5 gallon gas tank, and it was installed in St. Louis only on St. Louis body cars and only on coupes.
Okay.
It was built as a separate item. It's made of fiberglass. This cover on the top of it basically hides the tank, but what you'll see is that there's no carpeting back here. Various wiring has been cut off and added because there is a ventilation system in these cars, but they had to plug that up to get the tank in here.
Okay.
And this tank was put in the car before the top of the body was put on, so it wasn't fit through the doors.
Okay.
The lower body was built. They put the tank in, and then the upper body was laid down on top of it as it went through the body line.
Wow, wow.
So they needed 22 extra people to install that tank. Whenever they made a tanker, it took a lot more manpower. So what happened was that there weren't very many of these built.
Right.
38 of these built in 64.
Okay. With the big tank option. Okay.
So it's quite unique in that regard.
And why would they want to put a larger fuel tank in a car, Mike?
Well, it's basically for the racers.
Okay.
At the time, 63 was the first year they made a tank that size. They had made tanks, bigger tanks, during the late part of the C1 era, but they were like 24 or 25 gallon tanks, and they were ones that they were also made for racing, but this was a bigger one.
So they didn't have to stop as often.
Fewer pit stops.
They could go longer between pit stops, which led to shorter total race time, which could be the difference between winning or losing the race.
Yes.
Right.
And they did contribute very well in '63. I think to some of the Z06s winning some of the bigger races. So they had a purpose, and that was the purpose that Duntov originally wanted for the car.
Did the option have to be available to the general public so it could be used in racing, or was the option created for people that GM knew were going to race the cars?
Well, in '63, when it first started, the first ones were given to Zora's drivers,
Okay.
Zora's racers.
Okay.
You had people like Bob Bondurant, Jerry Grant, Dave McDonald. Those people got the Z06s that had the big tank.
Okay.
Because that was part of the package.
Sure.
early on. Later, it became a package that could be ordered by anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But the very first ones were done for the racers, for Zora's racers.
Okay. Okay. But then that option became available so people could purchase that on a car that they were going to race themselves.
That's right.
Because back in then, there weren't near the factory race teams. It was a lot of guys that just said, I want to go race a Corvette.
Yes, there were a lot of private racers.
There you go. That's the term.
You had
Right.
people like Mickey Thompson.
Uh-huh.
Mickey Thompson had I think 6 of the 63 Z06s he bought.
Okay.
And he was not part of the official race team, but he wanted to use them for racing.
Got it.
And other people did too. So they had people at Nicky Chevrolet that decided they wanted it, and AJ Foyt drove some of their cars.
Sure. Okay.
Early races in '63 with the big tank, and so it became quite popular in '63 and '64 for racers to have this kind of equipment put up.
So how long have you had the car, Mike?
I've had it about 5 years.
5 years.
I'm
And
the 5th owner.
so you know the history?
Yes.
Fantastic. And you brought the car here to the National Corvette Restorers Society. What's your goal? Why is the car here today?
It's for flight judging.
Okay.
And, the goal is just to, get as high a top flight as I can. And,
Sure.
And the other part of it is just so people can see these unusual cars, because you don't see them very often.
That's exactly right. And a lot of people need to understand a lot of what we do behind NCRS is sharing of knowledge, sharing of the cars, Too many cars have been put away in private museums and will never be seen again. Mike is one of these great owners that is not concerned with he's happy to share this car with younger guys like me that have only read about a car like this in a book or a magazine, and here it is. We can see it in person and look up close to see what a fuel-injected tanker big brake Corvette is all about.
I also like to point out the wheels and tires.
Sure.
These wheels, this is the first year that the quick takeoff wheels were an option.
Okay.
People thought it was 63. They were not ready. They were not available to the public.
Okay.
The 64, that's the first year those knockoffs, as they call them now,
right,
were put on. The tires, by the way, these are the tires that this car drove out of the dealer with.
Really? Wow.
These were Firestone Sport Car 200 760 by 15 racing tires.
Okay.
And today they're hard as a rock, but when they were new, they were soft and they were pliable, and you can see the wide tread here,
right,
of something that looked like it should be in the 80s.
Uh-huh.
Actually, that was a racing tire in the day. So the guy that ordered this car, when it left the dealer, he swapped the Goodyear power cushions for those tires.
Uh-huh.
And paid extra. And he kept the tires with the car. This car has 13,000 miles.
13,000 miles. Unbelievable. So, have you ever talked to the owner, or is he not with us anymore?
No,
the original owner.
He's
okay.
not with us anymore.
Was the car purchased to be a race car, or did he just go crazy with the option sheet?
He was a GM executive, and when GM executives ordered cars, the more options, the cheaper it was, because they got a big discount on options.
Oh, okay. All right.
So he had a 63 Z06 that was silver with a black interior.
Uh-huh.
And he wanted a 64 that was equipped the same way, but with the opposite color combination.
That's a great story.
That's why he did what he did. Yeah.
Well, Mike, it's been a real pleasure having you walk us around your 1964 Corvette. Thank you for sharing it with the Corvette community, and we'll do more of these videos in the future. But Mike, it's been a real pleasure today. I'm going to reach out here and shake your hand. Thanks so much, Mike. You're a great contributor to the Corvette hobby.
Thank you, Brad.
And thank you all for watching Brad Hillhouse today. I appreciate if you like this video, share it. And again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.